We deeply appreciate you staying with us on the program. Let's have the second and, by all means, the last lap of this discussion we're having on TMI this very promising Thursday morning. Felix Osarieme, lecturer at University of Benin, still with us, but he's been joined by a professor from the same university now, immediate past chairman, Academic Staff Union of Universities, Unibank Chapter, Professor Julius Iyasele. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. Good day, good morning, viewers.
I'm going to have to place a demand on your energy a lot this morning. Let's also appreciate Peter Ejiofor, Esquire, legal practitioner and public affairs commentator, for coming on the program as well.
Good morning, everybody.
Well, I'm going to start with Peter so we can get back to Prof. Cost of governance gives a lot of Nigerians concern. In the last 11 days, I've had cause to speak with two legislators, one now a commissioner, one still serving as a legislator. And what he told me is that members of the public have misgiving about remuneration for lawmakers in this country, whether at state or federal level. Help us make sense of that.
What we have in the expenditure of government is the recurrent and capital expenditure.
Exactly.
And we have found that the capital expenditure is actually what drives an economy, drives a nation in terms of development. The current expenditure are the ones you spend as salaries and other expenses of that nature. But the expenses you make for capital are for development. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, I don't even see the dichotomy between capital and recurrent expenditure in Nigeria, because everything is diluted. If you go to capital expenditure, was money not budgeted for somewhere like East-West Road? Was it not a capital project? How much has been done over the years? So you ask yourself, capital expenditure, recurrent expenditure, is there really any difference? When we talk about recurrent expenditure, are we not talking about remunerations for workers and things of the like of that nature? Now you also ask yourself, why do we not have issues of ghost workers, where you even have more ghost workers, any salary more than the people that are working? You have so many, you have a plethora of problems. I think it's best we sit down and address issues in our country. Otherwise, we are going to have an explosion that we cannot contend with.
Somebody said, I mean, you just talked about the ghost worker phenomenon. Somebody said we're giving the wrong name to a realistic problem. He said because when you say ghost workers, you make it look like these are people we don't know. That even the so-called ghost workers they are the people who are brought into the system, into the payroll by people who are already working for government, people who are working in the civil service. Which means it's even a bigger problem than we realize, because at the point, I remember former Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, had said that a specific number of ghost workers are being expunged from the IPPIS, that's the payroll of governments. But again, we continue to hear of ghost workers, whether it's federal, civil service, or even across state civil service. In this country, is it like it's an impossible task to accomplish?
It depends on our disposition.
Okay.
If we as Nigerians want to be honest and run government the way it should, then why can't we get it right? The thing is that we go there with a different mindset. We don't go there with the way we run our businesses. Security is an item, it's a commodity you can purchase. People pay for it, people pay taxes. And so when you are doing security, you should be able to account to Nigerians what you are using your security vote for. But that is not the case in Nigeria. That is the issue. We need to sit down and address the issue. Let's be sincere with ourselves. We don't have to begin to play with the emotions of the citizens and tell them we will do this, we will do that, whereas nothing changes. We keep doing the same thing every day, every year, every time.
Okay, let's see how we can do something different about these issues. But I want to talk to Professor Julius Iyasele now. The government is saying that, I mean, presidency in particular is saying that the travel trips for members of cabinet, particularly ministers, will be cut, and then, of course, every member of cabinet traveling will have to, even, in fact, MDS, ministries, departments, and agencies, would have to submit to governments lists of people who will be traveling, of course, state categorically the reasons they're traveling, and then government is doing all of this to ensure that it cuts down costs of government. We have been on this road before, haven't we?
Of course. maybe the civil servants, those that work in the MDAs are now the weeping child. Let me put it that way. But as it were, we talked about it all of this a long time ago. People have talked about the amount of cars in maybe one official or government fleet and all. It's been on. A time came even when this president was coming in and he said that he was not going to have an office of the first lady and all that. Is it now only the civil servants that are culprits in this matter? Because the truth about it is that, like you have said, it is actually very, very expensive to run our government. If you look at, he just mentioned the recurrent expenditure. If you look at that, which overweighs the capital, which means we are not ready to advance, we are not ready to grow. So we are just consumer people. That is what the budget presented speaks about. That is the volume you get from there. So we have been talking about it. It is not new that yet they are going to cut traveling. But if the president jumps onto the aircraft today and is going, check the number of aides that are going to follow him. You have to administer a people by example. Everybody must show commitment to getting this country out of the wood, because we are slipping into anarchy. So it is not only the MDAs, it's everywhere. Of course, it is a free-for-all.
But that we can't get certain things right yet. I mean, just yet.
Yes.
It's not necessarily an indication that we are sliding into anarchy.
What else?
I mean, because it will appear that more commitment is being brought on board now, because recall that just yesterday, Minister of Employment and Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, was talking about how that everybody has to make sacrifice, including himself. And he talked about, of course, members of the National Assembly.
Yes.
It will appear more than ever before we are beginning to realize that the cost of governance in this country is more of a burden than anything else.
My brother, talk is cheap. We want to see action now.
Exactly.
As Igige is talking about, he's saying that he will not tell us this is my salary annually, and this is by the percentage by which I want to go down on what I take home, and all that. And all of us will follow suit. It's not just talking and that there should be this one should make commitment. Will they eventually make commitment? Don't we know what? See, I have said, our salary structure in this country is in bizarre situation. We should return back to the salary structure left here by the colonial masters.
Was that better?
Yes, because at the end of the day, some persons came under the ministry position and favored their group and all that. Let me tell you, if I mentioned it here before, if you look at the Ministry of Health, for instance, when Julius Adeli, as Minister of Health, came, favored those in the pharmaceutical sector. When Oliko Iranso Kuti came, he favored the medical doctors. I'm sure when Gowon head sway in this country, and the wife, because she's a nurse, now also helped to favor nurses. So that is why you find in front of UDT, you see a statue of a nurse.
If there's anything to go by, it's suggestive of parochial thinking about these issues. But let me come to Felix. Now, I know you're itching to contribute to this as quickly as possible. Are we supposed to be thinking of going back to the Revenue Mobilization and Allocation Fiscal Commission for these issues, really? Because beyond the political rhetorics that we are already obviously accustomed to, what are some specific actions we must be taking right now? Because it will appear that there has to be a review of the entire framework to accomplish the ideal.
Today Nigeria is a laughing stock of the civilized world. I use the word civilized world because we know where we have come from, we know where we are today, where we are going to, we are praying to get there as a country. Professor Yasele mentioned anarchy, and I will use a different word, implosion, but it will still be anarchic in the long run. But we are not advocating it. But we are saying we should not run away from certain truths. Okay. You cannot flog a child that says child that you flog not to cry. You have inflicted pain. There must be a response. Some children will be able to swallow it. They may even be huffing. But you see here sometimes the moans and the groans. Nigerians are groaning. Now, the government keeps telling us cost of governance is expensive. In fact, in Nigeria, government is something from the people. We must first of all say that clear. So the people in government are not like us. They don't pay for anything. Everything is given to them. The man that gets a house free, light is provided 24/7, he gets vehicle, a fleet that is fueled at the expense of the government. Everything is given to him. The food, the entertainment, in fact, they still give them hardship allowance. I actually don't know the hardship they suffer anyway. When they get all these things, they are the ones that will still legislate how much they earn. And they will tell you to make sacrifice. Minister of Labour, Dr. Ngige, is saying that if minimum wage is paid, Nigeria will end up like Venezuela, that will be broke. Why have they not, as Professor Yas says, led by example? You don't tell me that things will be bad for me because I have been putting in my best, and you are benefiting. The road to Lagos is this straight road. If you go this way, you will not get to Lagos. So we should stop this pretense.
You get to Lagos from bypass on Aduwa Road.
It's very difficult because east and west, there are two cardinal points.
Obviously.
So if you keep going west, you will never get to the east unless you go round. And we are not ready to go round. Instead, we are pretending that we are going round. That is what government has been. In fact, government is about government is scam in Nigeria. I'm sorry to use such words, but these are the words that have become commonplace. When you hear
when you say scam, I guess the word you're looking for is to say government is not often sincere about its purpose.
Because in government there is no transparency, there's no accountability, and there is no sanction for impunity. These are the things we need to put in place. The legal person here just now, sorry, I didn't get the name very well, said something about.
It's not Mr. Peter Ejiofor.
Sorry, Peter Ejiofor, I'm sorry, please. The government of Nigeria sees itself as doing the people a favor. Government in Nigeria has not seen itself as service to the people. You serve to lead. Our government persons see themselves as rulers. They want to rule. They dictate policies to you. They expect you to conform. That's why they keep telling the poor, the common man, the citizens to make sacrifice. Have they actually disclosed how much they earn? Do we see change in their lifestyle? Do they take their children to public schools that our children go to? Do they go to public hospitals and wait for hours to be treated the way ordinary citizens go through? Do they also sit down and wait or go and buy blood outside to come and do transfusion the way they send people to go and buy, or they say that oxygen is not in the theater, or go and bring diesel for us to run the generator? They don't go through all these things. They have their own complete. They are the ones that will still tell you you have not made enough sacrifice. They want to increase VAT. They are telling you that you pay for national ID card. They are telling you pay for everything is paid for in this country. The question is, all this revenue that you generate, what does it translate to? You still have high recurrent expenditure. You are not talking of capital projects. Even when money is voted for capital projects, you don't see the translation into reality. I once said here in this studio that government does not need to publish white paper to say they have worked. We will see the work going on. If you tar a road, I will know because I will pass the road.
Right.
If my children sleep very well because there is light 24 hours, I will know. You don't need to go and write a paper or go and do media adverts. We will know because we live in this country. If policemen are contented and they are working well, we will know. When the policeman is shaking and saying, I'll get pure water for us, you know that something has gone wrong somewhere. If you go to a police station, they'll tell you to bring 50 naira or 100 naira or 500 naira for them to buy paper to write on. If the paper is there, they will ask you to buy it. You don't, if I go to our police stations, you will want, how can you be secure in a country where your police station is derelict? You see our policemen on the road, you are even scared of them because you are not sure that they can protect you. There is no trust. The government has not built trust. The government is not accountable to you. The government is not transparent in its dealings with you. What do you now expect from the people? They will respond in the same way. So trust begets trust, and it builds respect. Our government keeps playing to the gallery because they have the capacity to publicize information, they canalize opinion. People end up saying, okay, don't worry, let them do what they will do, we will also survive. And that is why you hear young men telling you that they are hustling. The word also is a very negative thing.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be struggling, you're supposed to be working hard. You hear Nigerians talking of what hard work anymore. They say want to go and hustle. They have already made up their mind that they want to go and look for shortcuts. You don't encourage hard work. People that work very hard in this country, they are the ones bearing the brunt of the labor of this country again. And the people that sit at the top of the ladder, who get everything free, who do not go to the market to buy where I buy, who do not shop in the same place I shop, will still come and tell you that we have to make more sacrifice. Let them tell us openly how much a governor earns, how much he gets as security vote. They shouldn't be hiding this because it's for us. As I said, you can, security is an item. You tell me, I pay tax every month. Before I even see my salary, you have taken the tax.
A former governor in 2011 said his salary was a little less than 500,000, but we don't want to have that conversation just yet.
That question
yes.
is also very, very vital.
We should know.
I think we need to add some more points.
But isn't that supposed to be something that places a demand on members of the public? Because they always say, take people in government to account. How do we push and continue to push this conversation? Is it enough to get on the street and do protests led by members of civil society, or go to social media and rant and cuss ourselves out and take sides with political party? What should members of the public be doing to take people in government, whether elected or appointed, to account? I'm asking Professor Julius. Yes, sir.
Of course. What we must do, there's no other alternative. In situations of collective bargaining, the last option available to anybody is protest. You down.
But are those protests yielding desired results? I'm not just talking about ASU going on strike or the labor organizing labor proposing strikes.
We must continue to protest. We must continue to engage government. In fact, I'm an advocate of, activating the entire public to a culture of protest. We must learn to protest. It is legitimate, it's global. Without it, this society will just go down. So we must encourage our people to protest. And then protest, for instance, about our constitution that is very faulty right now. You can have this kind of constitution, to be the one that become a standard for
in other words, we cannot achieve much with this constitution.
No. For instance, we should you can have a constitution that not decides that, or that stipulates that the members of the National Assembly will legislate their own salary. They decide what they take home and all that. It is not fair. It is never anywhere that you allow somebody to not say, this is what I'm worth. It is not you that will assess yourself. I mean, in terms of measurement, quantities and measurement, you are not the one to decide for yourself.
I'm going to let you catch your breath now, Professor.
Yes.
Let me come to Ejiofor. For the next 2-3 minutes, let's look at the Constitution, because it is the ground as lawyers say. I remember not too long ago, Senator Adeyeye on the floor of the Senate raised a copy of the Constitution, literally, and he said that this Constitution cannot give us peace, cannot give us progress, cannot give us prosperity. And he gave reasons. I've spoken with lawyers, brilliant lawyers like yourself, who have told me that the Constitution must be reviewed, that certain things are fundamentally wrong with our laws. Now, let's see, in what ways, for example, do these laws affect cost of running government in this country?
The question we should ask is that, have we even allowed the Constitution to work?
As it stands now.
To work. Have we allowed the Constitution to operate maximally the way it should operate? We have not allowed the Constitution to operate. Let me take you back again to the earlier statement I made about security votes. There is no provision for security vote in the Constitution.
So how did we get here with security votes, which has become controversial?
Security vote was a military concept, which they were even more transparent than the democratic system we are operating today. Because at that time, the provisional ruling councils and all the supreme military councils were always bringing their budget to the front burner in their councils. They discuss it, they budget, and then fix an amount for it. Go to state by state now and find out what is the provision for security vote.
Well, we always hear 500 million. Is that universal? Is it flat out?
We are not even operating the Constitution as it were. If we are following the Constitution, how many of the laws or orders that court have given that the government have obeyed? Are we following the Constitution? We should not even be talking about bastardizing our constitution with our own mouth without actually seeing how it has operated, so that we begin to look at, if we are looking at how to amend the constitution now, you are looking at how people are going to amend it to their own game. You just spoke about autonomy for local government and others. And even some states were even voting, some assemblies were voting against their own autonomy. Now, how do you reconcile that? It's an issue we really have to be sincere with ourselves, whether we want to run a government or we don't want to run a government. That is the truth. We need to sit down and talk sincerely with ourselves. You know, we've convoked several conferences, constitutionally and otherwise. But I think it has come to a time. 2014. It has come to a time we have to be sincere. Our budget is not community-based. Implementation of budget are not community-based. Even when you place an item in the constitution and say it's a derivation allocation, the people don't know how it comes. You just corner a few persons in the community, give them 1, 2, 3 naira, and then you eat the rest and say that there is allocation to oil-producing states. Is that how to run a constitution?
Again, that takes us back to the issue of transparency and accountability. And just a while ago, Professor Yesali here was saying that Nigerians will have to continue to engage governments strategically in such a way that we continue to see a change along those lines. But we're just going to take a quick break now. My 3 guests, all 3 of them, are still going to be here, so that we'll come back. We'll begin to wrap up on this discussion. Do stay with us.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Okay, let's tie it up on the discussion this morning. I'm just going to give these gentlemen each 1 minute to wrap up. A lot of times, just even this morning in the discussion we had earlier, we talked about how that most times there are no specific timelines as to how we want to achieve many of these goals that we set out, especially on the part of government. But in this case, for example, the federal government, Boss Mustafa, right, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation on behalf of the federal government is saying that a minister under these current arrangements is not allowed to travel with more than 4 persons. That's specific. Isn't that a step in the right direction?
Yes, these are good steps. You see, we should be proactive, consistently. We don't do back and forth. When you do that, you take 10 steps forward, 15 steps backwards. You have not really made progress. Let us build on existing challenges. Let us continue to improve. If you say a minister cannot travel with more than 4, a director cannot travel more than this number, the presidency should also tell us his own number. Government should tell us their own number, because we are all part of the same system. This is government we are talking of. Now, if the president is traveling, how many persons should travel with him? To what end? And these travels are supposed to be planned unless there's an emergency. The cost for each trip should be outlined. If these things are properly specified, as we said earlier on, there should be transparency
and accountability.
Let us know. Then you begin to account. If the Minister of Labour is saying that if they pay minimum wage, Nigeria will become broke, first of all, tell us how much you have been paying those in government. If you are going to reduce, tell us by what fraction or percentage you are doing reduction. Things should be spelled out in proper form. When things are spelled out in proper form, you will now begin to build trust. People should also not just listen, they should begin to engage. There should be information flow from the people, government to the public, and from the public there should be response, so that the government will know.
Let me also give you a minute to Professor Julius Yasale. The government is also saying that heads of ministries, departments, and agencies must submit their travel plan for the year within the first quarter of the fiscal year, as anything otherwise will be considered ineligible by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. That's proactive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. But what we have seen here is that the will to implement laws, that is the bane of Nigeria. We have laws everywhere. They are never respected. You are aware of that. The Nigerians will find a way to circumvent anything. In fact, you know that this is a country of miracle. So anything can happen. So that is the problem that we have. So if you have here to prescribe to this country, number one is to set up a very good constitution. After setting up a good constitution, look for a way to throw up a man.
In other words, improve on the constitution as it stands.
Yes.
Okay.
Then set up, look for a way to throw up a man with conscience, a man that will not remember that he is from the north, a man that will not remember whether he's from the south or whether he's a Christian or a Muslim, but a man that is Nigerian at heart, who now will decide and not say, okay, this, please, National Assembly, your salaries and wages too high, you must come down to this. Even me, university lecturers, this is what we can pay now because this country is broke. And then you go to the market and say, there was what we call price control at the time, and set up all of this. And when people see the sincerity in him, that is why I say a man that God, you know, that has the fear of God at heart. And when the people see sincerity in him, because Nigerians are good followers, everybody will follow him. Good,
thank you. Well said. Barrister Ejiofor, the Senate President says Nigeria has to be prayerful to be able to surmount its challenges. That again has elicited several responses across social media. But going forward, in 1 minute, what must we do to be able to evolve a system, proactive, robust system that helps cut down cost of governance?
Our budget should be community-based. We should engage the communities when we are doing budgets. When you do that, you carry them along. They are able to track what budget is for their area. They are able to say this is what it will take. They can estimate, they can check. When budgets are just done in a vehicle, without engaging the communities that you say you are planning for, we have problems. That will, in a way, checkmate issues of accountability and transparency. It will also give what we will call responsible governance to the people.
All right, I think that's as much time will allow us. Felix Osereme, lecturer, University of Benin, thank you for coming. Professor Jose Asele is also a lecturer, University of Benin, immediate past chairman, ASU Uniben chapter. Thank you for coming, Prof. We appreciate it. Yeah. And a legal practitioner, Peter Ejiofor, we appreciate your presence on the program as well.
Thank you very much.
That's TMI for this Thursday. I'm Wiyag Mofwebe. Remember that the views of our guests on the program are their opinions, and we respect them. Have a great day ahead of you.